and the American colonists, and planned to infiltrate and hijack both nations and asset strip, tyrannize, and then mass murder both nations and their populace. The KM's attempts to set up a private American central bank are blocked by President Andrew Jackson, who called them satanic and vowed to rout them out by the grace and power of Almighty God. The Rothschild banksters regroup and continue their covert attempts to install their own Babylonian money magic bank inside America. Finally, in 1913, the Rothschild KM succeeds in establishing a major beachhead inside America, and an evil enemy of all American enter the gates of America. In 1913, the Rothschild KM was able to establish a beachhead by bribing crooked, treasonous members of Congress to pass the illegal, unconstitutional Federal Reserve Act on Christmas Eve without a required quorum. The act was then signed by a crooked, bought-off president who was a traitor to America, like the members of Congress who voted for it. The Rothschild KM then create an illegal taxation system in America. The KM put an illegal, unconstitutional tax system in place in order to make sure that Americans would have to pay for high-level USG spending, approved by a bought-off, crooked Congress and presidential puppets put in place by corrupt KM campaign finance. It is easy for the KM to garner enough money to elect anyone they want, because when you control a bank that is a secret major counterfeiter, you have all the money made for you that you desire. At about the same time that they created their illegal tax system in America, they also bribed members of Congress to approve the Internal Revenue Service, which is their private collection agency incorporated in Puerto Rico. Soon afterward, they set up the Federal Bureau of Investigation to protect their banksters, to serve their cover-up needs, and prevent them from ever being prosecuted for their child sacrifice rituals and pedophile networks, and to also serve as a covert intel operation on their behalf. Note that the FBI has no official charter, according to the Library of Congress, and has no right to exist or issue paychecks. The Rothschild KM deployed the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia to extract incredibly savage, bloody revenge on innocent Russians, which they had plotted for many years, ever since Khazaria was destroyed. The Rothschild KM pre-staged and engineered the Russian Revolution by using its central banks to pay for the Bolshevik infiltration of Russia and their revolution on behalf of the KAZARIENNE mafia, KM. The Bolsheviks were actually created and deployed by the KAZARIENNE mafia, KM, as the essential part of their long-planned revenge on the Russian Tsar and the innocent Russian people for breaking up Khazaria in about 1000 AD for its repeated robbery, murder, and identity theft of travelers from countries surrounding Khazaria. This little-known fact explains the extreme violence taken out on Russia as long-standing revenge in a well-planned, savage, and inhuman bloodletting that stunned the world. The Bolsheviks were unleashed in full fury on behalf of the KM. This had been planned since the destruction of Khazaria. The Bolsheviks, on the instructions of the Rothschild KM, raped, tortured, and mass murdered about 100 million Russians, including women, children, and babies. Some of the tortures and massacres were so extreme that we will not mention them in this account. But readers who want to know can do some in-depth internet research on the Red Terror, or the Bolshevik Cheka, or watch the classic movie The Chekist, 1992. The Rothschild Khazarian Mafia, KM, once again decided to sheep-dip themselves and infiltrated and hijacked all Judaism. The Rothschild KM created a master plan to control all of Judaism and mind-control Judaics. The Rothschild KM has hijacked Judaism, patterned it off of Babylonian Talmudism, Luciferianism, or Satanism, and gained control over the banking and Wall Street professions in general, Congress, the major mass media, along with most wealth and economic means of success. Thus, the Rothschild KM could pass out wealth and success to those Judaics who drank their Kool-Aid and used them as cutouts, assets, and psionims. In this manner, the Rothschilds hijacked Judaism. Their financing of the Israeli Knesset and construction of it using Freemason occult architecture displayed their commitment to the occult and Babylonian Talmudism, and all the evil accompanying it, including child sacrifice to their secret god Baal. They set up an NWO system called World Zionism, which taught and inculcated susceptible Judaics with a paranoid group delusion of racial superiority, which assumed that all Gentiles were intent on mass murdering all Judaics. Freemasonry architecture was used in the building of the Knesset and the Israeli Supreme Court viewed through windows. They called this racially paranoid mass Judaic delusion of world conquest World Zionism, which is really a form of covert Babylonian Talmudism or Luciferianism that had been unknown to mainstream Judaics. The system was designed to use Judaics as cover, but also to anoint them with Babylonian money power, in order to use them as cutouts, and to later be sacrificed to Lucifer in 2 stages. The first stage would be their planned WY in Nazi work camps, cut off from supplies, resulting in the deaths of about 200,000 Judaics from starvation and disease, along with about 90,000 non-Judaic inmates from the same causes, according to respected Red Cross official figures. This number is 5% of what the KAZARIENNE mafia, aka the World Zionists, claim. The second great sacrifice would be a final one, when their New World Order Luciferian king would be placed into power, and when all 3 Abrahamic religions would be eradicated, especially Judaism, which would be blamed for all the wars and destruction of the world. By then, the Rothschilds would once again morph themselves into a complete new identity, not associated with Judaism in any form, not even World Zionism. It is important to realize that the Rothschild KM took Germany down to nothing after WWI created a vacuum for fascism and then rebuilt it, creating Nazism and installing Hitler as a counterforce to their Russian Bolshevism. Hitler became a problem for the KM when he broke free and began acting in the interests of the German people and the free people of the world, and developed his own banking system free of the Rothschilds. Hitler introduced a financial system that was free of usury and beneficial to the working class. This mandated the utter destruction of Germany and the German people, because the Rothschilds and the KAZARIENNES could never allow an economic system that did not depend upon usury to exist. We see the same thing today with the Khazarian war against Islam, because Islam forbids usury. That is why Israel is so vocal and aggressive about destroying the Islamic people of the world. The KM expected this to be a large WW2, and when they supported both sides, this could be used to industrialize the whole world and maximize their bankster money power. The Rothschild KM then bribed and induced members of Congress to send American soldiers to their pre-stage and engineered WWI. As a continuance of their well-proven pattern of financing both sides in any war to maximize profits, the acquisition of more federal tax monies, and increased international power, the Rothschild Khazarians once again bribed, blackmailed, and induced members of Congress to declare war against Germany in 1917. This was facilitated by a KM false flag attack with the sinking of the Lusitania. The Rothschild KM has since developed the usual pattern of covertly staging false flag attacks as a standard operating procedure for inducing Americans to fight wars for the Khazarian mafia. After WWTA was finished, the Rothschild KM deployed the Cold War and used this as an excuse to bring Nazi scientists and mind control experts to America under Operation Paperclip. This allowed them to set up a worldwide spying and espionage system that far exceeded any of their prior efforts. Under this new system, they continue to infiltrate and hijack all American institutions, including the various American church systems, Freemasonry, especially the Scottish Rite and York Rite, the U.S. military, U.S. intel, and most private defense contractors, the judiciary and most agencies of the USG, including most state governments, and both major political parties as well. The Rothschild KM sets up Nazi work camps as a pretext to later manipulate the Allies into granting them their own private colony in Palestine, using land stolen from the Palestinians. The Rothschild KM was able to use their self-mislabeled, so-called Holocaust to serve as a mind control trigger to thwart and resist any criticism of their Zionist ways. The truth of the matter was that the Rothschild KM set up the Nazi work camps to make huge profits for the corporations that ran their work camps and supplied their Nazi war machine. Once the Rothschild KM gained their own private homeland in Israel in 1947, through their covert political manipulations, they began to secretly view all of Palestine as their new Khazaria and began plotting how to genocide all the Palestinians and steal all of Palestine for themselves. Their plans include their fantasy of constructing a greater Israel by taking over the whole Middle East and manipulating dumb American goyim to fight and die on their behalf, taking all the Arab lands for Israel and the Khazarian mafia, KM, so they can asset strip their wealth and natural resources, especially their crude oil. Recent peer-reviewed Johns Hopkins genetic research by a respected Judaic MD shows that 97.5% of Judaics living in Israel have absolutely no ancient Hebrew DNA, are therefore not Semites, and have no ancient blood ties to the land of Palestine at all. By contrast, 80% of Palestinians carry ancient Hebrew DNA and thus are real Semites and have ancient blood ties to Palestinian land. This means that the real anti-Semites are the Israelis who are stealing Palestinian lands in order to build Israeli settlements, and it is the Israelis who are the ones tyrannizing and mass murdering innocent Palestinians. The Rothschild KM decides to morph again and expand their ranks. In the meantime, the Rothschild KM realized that they could not stay hidden much longer from the public unless they morphed again and expanded their secret leadership. So they worked hard to further infiltrate and hijack Freemasonry and its secret offshoots and inducted top members into their pedophile network and child sacrifice rituals. Also, key members of Congress were inducted into their secret satanic network by giving them special power, high USG, military, and intel positions, accompanied by great monetary rewards and high status. Massive KM espionage fronts using Israeli-American, Israeli-first dual citizens as cutouts were set up inside America to funnel the KAZARIENNE banksters' counterfeit money to politicians for their election campaigns in order to own and control them when elected. The Rothschild KM decides to mind control the American masses to make it much easier to manipulate them into approving their illegal, unconstitutional, unprovoked, undeclared, unwinnable, perpetual wars needed to make huge profits and gain more world power. The Rothschild KM decided to gain complete control over all public education by setting up the Department of Education and creating globalist and socialist curriculums based on political correctness, diversity, and perversion is normal teachings. Fluoride is added to public water and toothpaste, and dentists are mind-controlled to believe that fluoride prevents cavities and is not harmful to brain function or thyroid function, which it is. The addition of fluoride to the public water supply and to toothpaste is to dumb down Americans, by on average lowering the operational IQ and making folks much more docile than they would normally be. Programs to develop and deploy vaccinations to dumb down children and create huge numbers of future chronic health problems were initiated. Doctors have been mind-controlled and misled by biased research that was cherry-picked, ignoring any studies that were negative, and that included most of them. All vaccine cell lines are contaminated with SV40, a known carcinogenic slow-acting virus. The KM used its monetary power to gain control over all of the allopathic medical schools and set up and controlled the American Medical Association and other medical societies in order to make sure their agenda based on lies and deceit was continued. Part of this massive plan to dumb down and mind control the American masses was the KM's buying up and consolidating all the American mass media into 6 controlled major mass media, CMMM, owned and controlled by their cutouts on their behalf. The CMMM functions as an illegal news cartel, and it should be broken up under antitrust laws for inflicting espionage and illegal propaganda as a weapon of war against the American people. The Rothschild KM chieftains decide that it is time to use America to complete their final takedown and occupation of the whole world by instituting a major false flag attack inside America to blame on the Islamics, whom they want America to wrongly attack on their behalf. So the KM chieftains use their top Israeli-American, Israeli-first dual citizens living in America, aka the PNAcers and top neocon cutouts, to plan a major nuclear attack on America on 9/11/01. Bibi Netanyahu, the operational head of the KM, deployed the Mossad and these dual citizens to set up and institute this attack on America, which was to be blamed by the CMMM on Muslims. They informed their top rabbis and friends of world Zionism not to fly on that day and to stay out of